up. It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 141 of the Frameskip podcast. I am Andie Eller, and I am joined for the first time in, God, I don't even know how long, by everybody that's supposed to be on this podcast, including the coach, Kyle Newman. How are you, Coach?
What's up, man? I'm doing good because I have my Mandalorian tumbler.
Very nice.
Which I have the tattoo right there also. So doing good.
So, Coach, what will you do now that you've got that tattooed on your body? What will you do if the seasons get progressively worse and you become like actively unhappy with the direction of the Mandalorian?
Well, season 3 did get worse, so
so not a good track record so far, is what you're saying.
Like,
all right.
Oh my god!
It's all right.
Oh Lord! All right. Well, speaking of great track records, the other two guys are here most weeks. George from Shortbox Summary.
Woo!
What's up, man?
Weeks. We do this for weeks. Woo!
Seth, Blake House.
I'm thinking we need to change the name because it doesn't vibe with me. Right, from a weak to a strong. I don't want to be associated with anything weak. You know what I'm saying? Like
I get
there's
it.
Four strongs in a month. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I get it. So what would you call days in the circumstance? What would be like the in-between? Would they also be strongs?
Well, no. Yeah. I mean, days.
To be flexes.
Days
flexes.
are fine.
I like that.
It's just that like week has a pretty specific definition to it. It's like
there's 4 strongs in a month. There's 7 reps in a strong, and then I think 24 reps in a. No, sorry, 24 flexes in a rep.
This is some crazy math and definitions that I am not familiar with. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I just don't want to be associated with anything weak.
Sadly, I'm weak. So Seth, if you need to leave the show, you can. But
when Seth started saying that, I really couldn't tell if he was having a stroke or if I was having a stroke. I'm like, wait, what's going on?
Just a little of everything.
Something bad is happening to one of us, but I can't tell who.
So Alden in the chat, who is watching us live on YouTube, if you didn't know that, if you're listening to us on podcast services after the fact or the recording of this on YouTube, you can watch us as we record live. Just kind of stay tuned to our social media pages, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you will be notified when we go live. But Alden in the chat says, Seth out here looking like a guy on the cover of a porn you find at the dollar store.
I was with that until the end.
I mean,
last part hurt a little bit.
Most porn consumed in the world is free, so $1 is actually like infinitely more valuable than.
All right, now you did bring it back around. Now I do feel pretty good about that because you are correct.
That is true. That is true.
It's high class porn stash right here. All right,
$1. Subject to local, municipal, and state taxes.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the first time I've ever had the straight stash. Normally I go handlebar. All right, you can't tell, but like my sideburns kind of line up with it.
Wow, you put some thought into that.
Yeah, almost 3 whole minutes of thought. Yeah.
So you should do the Chris Pratt Avengers stash or beard rather, where he's got like the weird like half beard. I forget exactly how it looks, but I just remember it looking very strange, and I think you should do that. So
see, because like one thing you really gotta watch out for when you have a straight stash, right, is that like how far in you trim it, because like how far in do you trim it before it becomes a Nazi stash? Because like I'm not moving pretty far in, and that's already looking pretty bad. All right, and if I go like here, it's like okay, now we got a problem.
You won't do it.
No, I will not. But I will say, somebody in history at some point needs to take that stash back. It's not going to be me, but someone needs to fall on the sword. All right, can't let one guy in history ruin a stash for the rest of the time. That's all I'm saying. Someone needs to get
I literally wrote a newspaper article about that same thing 14 years ago, like my sophomore year of college.
Nothing's changed.
I was like, it's fucking weird, right? That we just gave up on this entire rendition of facial hair because of one dude.
But he was so bad that he literally ruined the mustache for everybody.
For everyone. Yeah.
So, Coach, what have you been up to? I don't even know the last time you were on this podcast. It's got to be at least a couple months, right?
No, I think it was about a month ago, maybe October-ish.
Okay. So, what have you been up to in that time? What do you got going on? Anything you've been playing, watching, consuming, whether that's turkey or otherwise?
Only had one plate on Thanksgiving, believe it or not. True story. Okay, so I platinum Spider-Man 2. And right before that came out, I platinum Spider-Man PS4 because I had the PS5 platinum. So to get back into it, about 4 or 5 weeks before it came out, I went through and started playing Spider-Man, but PS4 version, so I could get that plat. So I got those 2 plats since probably the last time I was on.
So what did you think about Spider-Man 2? I think you might be the only person on here who hasn't really talked about it. Or if you did, it was way early on when it first came out. So what did you think overall?
So, it was interesting because while I'm playing it, I had a totally different vibe than Tears of the Kingdom because I love both Breath of the Wild and Spider-Man, pretty much about the same, right? I just really got into both games. Like those 2 are one of my top games. Going through Spider-Man 2 at the beginning, I wasn't feeling it as much, right? I just kind of like, okay, I'm not getting that same feeling that I had when I played Spider-Man the first time, where that's all I thought about. And it wasn't until I probably stopped for a week and a half because I had military training. And then you were like way into it and you were making a lot of progress. Like within a week's time, you had like finished it and you platinumed it. So then I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then I finally got into the symbiote portion of the story. And bro, I was hooked in. I'm like, God damn, this is amazing.
Yeah, that game is so good. And I was wrong. I guess George obviously has not really talked about it on the show yet, but Coach, I know you had not really. But yeah, I agree with you. I think for me, the beginning was kind of slow. I'd say the first maybe third or quarter, it took a little bit for it to get going, I feel like, compared to the first game. But at the same time, maybe the first game was different in that way just because it was like the first time we had ever gotten a Spider-Man game like that. And so, I was hooked the whole time for the first one. What were you going to say, George?
I really like the Spider-Man games like that we've gotten from Insomniac. I don't think fundamentally they're that different than any older Spider-Man games.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
they're like better. But man, how old were you when Spider-Man 2 came out, the movie? I think that was 2004, Austin.
Oh, I would have been 8.
Okay. Did you play the Spider-Man 2 game on Xbox or PlayStation 2?
I never played a whole lot of Spider-Man 2. I did, however, play a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man, and I love that game.
Yeah, like that game, probably the better game, but like Spider-Man 2, like I just remember buying that for $20.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the summer, and that was like all I did that summer. I'm just saying, like Insomniac, obviously world-class developers. They really know how to put together a product. However, it just seemed like they perfected something that was pretty close to perfection before. That said, I'm very eager to finish Spider-Man 2.
I always liked the arcadey nature of Web of Shadows.
Yeah,
Web of Shadows is a very good game.
I never played that, and then there was that other one on PS3.
Shattered Dimensions.
Yeah.
Did you guys play Shattered Dimensions, George or Seth?
I did play Shattered Dimensions.
How was that one?
Not very good.
Dude, honestly, like at the time, Shattered Dimensions got really good reviews, and I never was a big fan of Shattered Dimensions or Edge of Time because they're both very linear, very small stage Spider-Man games, and I don't think he plays very well in those. I did think that they all had like a decent plot, but the weird thing is that in Shattered Dimensions they're constantly switching you between 4 Spider-Men, and they all play drastically different. So there's no like rhythm you get into in Shattered Dimensions, which I think is an issue.
I confused Shattered Dimensions with Edge of Time. I don't think Edge of Time was very good. Like I thought that game like literally just ran like shit. Shattered Dimensions was fine. But Seth is right that like you were moving around quite a bit. I actually like the smaller levels. Like I thought it kind of made it almost feel like a speedrunning game where like you could actually do something as quick as possible. Whereas like in an open world, like I want to do everything so slow. I want to see how fast I can go, but I also am just very casually like, oh, like I got to get to Brooklyn right now. Like, okay, I'm just gonna.
So let me ask you guys this: which one is the best non-Insomniac game?
Ultimate Spider-Man,
of course. Ultimate.
Yeah, I didn't play
What
enough.
system?
Xbox, GameCube, PS2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ultimate's my pick as well.
I didn't.
That one just because it has personality. Like it was very much modeled. It was like cell shaded. It was made to be like the Ultimate comic books, which mileage may vary with those depending on who's reading them. But the fact that it just like carved out a niche and just really stuck to it was really cool. Like it had a point of view that was unique.
Yeah, I never played enough really to say if it definitively is the best one, but for me, I mean, that's the one that I played the most of and I loved it. But it's interesting because you look back at that game and then likewise there was Hulk Ultimate Destruction, which just those two games kind of went hand in hand for me. Like the gameplay of those games, you know, somewhat similar in a way, and both are very good. PS2, GameCube, Xbox.
That was low key a golden age of superhero games. Like the Fantastic Four game is probably the worst one, just because it's like a button masher. Like it really is like a brawler. And then X-Men Legends is just like a Diablo clone, which is excellent. That one's a ton of fun. The Punisher game was this incredible third-person shooter where you could just do the most violent shit to people. Like there was an interrogation minigame in the game where you'd be like dangling some dude over like a shark tank or something, and you had to like thread the needle with the analog stick about how much pressure you were exerting, and you had to like hold it in a sweet spot to get them to like tell without like so they believe that you'd actually drop them into the shark tank without like actually if you push it too far you would just drop them in the shark tank and you wouldn't get the information you needed. And they could like unlock hidden paths in the levels to like get you to your objective a little easier or get you to like a special weapon that would make it easier. Really cool, interesting game.
So there's two games from that era that are pretty pricey on eBay. I mean, I think they're still affordable, but it's the X-Men Origins Wolverine and then the Captain America game. Did you guys play those?
Yeah, Captain America is just like a really, really watered down Arkham Asylum.
Really?
Yeah, but you're kind of dropped into like this war-torn European city as Captain America. So basically, like think Arkham Asylum, but you're in like a little city, and you're instead of Riddler trophies, you're collecting I think Fabergé eggs, and you're just like pulling combos with the same exact fighting mechanics as Arkham Asylum.
It came out about the same time, right? Because those were both on PS3.
Yeah, I think Captain America the movie came out in 2011.
That sounds
and Arkham
right.
Asylum was 2009, so there was a bit of a gap between those two.
You know what game is extremely expensive is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 Gold Edition.
Yes, because you can't get it anywhere now.
You can get you can't get the DLC anymore. They took the DLC off the Xbox Live. Yeah. So that game on Amazon right now is $400.
Did anyone else? Well, I don't trust Amazon inflated prices.
I'm trying to find the price charting for the Gold Edition.
I believe that
they re-released them
live on Xbox Live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they removed them.
Yeah, they re-released Ultimate Alliance 2. I snagged those on PS4, which somehow might be like the two rarest games I own. And they also had Marvel Heroes Omega, I think, which was like from Gazillion Entertainment. I actually knew a developer who worked there. I worked with his wife at an agency, and I would just like come up with a list of questions and like hand them to her. So then she would just like bring in the answers to me at work because I thought his job was so much fucking cooler than my job, and I was right. But that game was great. That was just like an online sort of MMO, basically like Ultimate Alliance. And that game, I heard about it and it was shut down within like 2 months.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I have them on Wii.
The Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, both 1 and 2. So
I never played 2.
And then of course, and then 3's on the Switch. So
yeah,
They
I
actually
think-
don't have it on price charting.
I didn't think 2 was very good.
But
2 is
isn't it?
fine. 2 started off with that story Secret War where like Nick Fury and a bunch of heroes go to Latveria and they try to assassinate the Latvian prime minister, and then it immediately jumps into civil war. So you have to like actually choose which side you want to go on, which is kind of interesting. But I thought the game was pretty short, and the big thing was combining powers, which was like a kind of light element in the first game. And basically, it was the same thing as the first game. They just like added extra animations and made like the payoff be like a little cooler. But ultimately, I thought the first game was just a better tour of the Marvel universe. Like they were trying to be like serious and dark in the second one. I just didn't think that worked for the type of game it was.
So, quick little sidestep here. Alden in the chat asks, have any of us watched the live action One Piece? I'm going to take a guess and say no, because I don't think any of us are really One Piece people.
It's on my list.
Yeah. So,
I'm going to Pennsylvania for Christmas this year so I can be with Aaliyah's family. Which it makes sense because like I think of the past like
nice.
8 years we've done either my family or no family. So like it's about time. And I have like a list of shit that I want to do that week while I'm there. So One Piece is absolutely on it.
Gettysburg.
I wish. I'm still like so mad we didn't go to Valley Forge, and then she told me we did, and I just like refused to believe her. Like we went to a wedding that supposedly happened in Valley Forge. I'm like, no, we got to go to like the place. And she's like, no, we're in the place. Like it's fucking nothing. I'm like, no, we got to go to the place of Valley Forge. And she was just like, you're a fucking idiot. Like we're there, man. And I'm like, no, we gotta like it's not even a gift shop here. This can't be Valley Forge.
oh my
There's
god.
not even a gift shop.
Well, that's how you know you're someplace cool. Fucking Gettysburg has a gift shop. Fucking Bunker
Like
Hill has a gift
1,000
shop.
It's like a open grass field, huh?
Yeah, and I was just like, no, but
Yeah.
where's the cool
Yeah.
part of Valley Forge? Like there's not even a microbrew here. Like, come on.
Go
Hey,
to
what's the name of that?
Knoebels.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Knoebels?
Knoebels is a amusement park. Apparently, according to Austin, this world famous wooden roller coaster that I've been riding my
Oh
whole
man,
life.
I love those are wooden roller coasters are the only ones I go on because they don't go fast enough to scare me.
Yeah, the it's Phoenix, I think, is the one, right? It's actually really well known. Like from a coaster community standpoint, it's like one of the highest rated wooden roller coasters in the world, which is interesting because it's not like record breaking or anything, but people just really like it. So
It's like a Michelin star restaurant or a non-Michelin star restaurant that has like a 4.9 on.
It's really that park is really interesting though, Seth, because I went with Elijah years ago when I was up there, and you know how most of the time, George, you'll go to like Six Flags and you'll just pay the entry fee and like you can just ride whatever. Knoebels, it still operates like a classic like 100-year-old theme park where you'll go in and you'll use a ticket to get on a roller coaster,
Sick.
which is really interesting.
Jesus.
Yeah. But you don't pay an entry fee. You just walk in. So it's really unique in that way.
Well, yeah, because people like to go to Knoebels to get the food and stuff too. Like the local people will go there and just like get like the restaurants are really highly rated.
The Coca-Cola still has cocaine there, so it's a big hit. Yeah,
They make it themselves.
That's right. That's right.
And the root beer, they don't have it. They didn't authentically use cola, so they have to. It's NyQuil actually. The root beer.
George, what have you been up to, man? Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I've been playing 2 games. I played 2 games this thing. I'm sorry. I've been kind of like really stressed out lately, despite the holiday. Like I wasn't stressed out because of the holidays. I was stressed out during the holidays, and I didn't want to escape into Spider-Man because then I thought I would just associate being stressed out with Spider-Man. So I played 2 games.
Good decision. Good decision.
Yeah, I played 2 games predominantly. I played Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I played Battlefield 2042.
Tell us what you think about Mirage. I'm really interested to hear what you think.
I think it's really good. It's I've only played Assassin's Creed 2. That's my only interaction with like the original Assassin's Creed series. I love Origins. I love Odyssey. I got so bored of Valhalla because I got it within a year of me spending 170 hours in Odyssey. So I needed a bit more of a break. But Mirage, it's funny that like so many of the problems from the old game still haven't been solved. Like if I'm trying to parkour my way out of like a sticky situation, I'll still like accidentally run up a wall instead of like running up like a series of crates to get up to like a ledge or something. And I remember vividly having that problem so frequently. Like the first time I started playing Assassin's Creed 2 back in like 2010, 2011. But the game is gorgeous. I'm amazed at everything they're capable of doing. I think it feels less like a traditional Ubisoft game, which is funny because it still has so many elements. Because like I just platted Far Cry 6, and so I was expecting way more bleed over, and like there is a lot of mechanic sharing between those two games, but it feels way more distinct in this version of Assassin's Creed. So I'm enjoying it. I recommend it. I also think there's a lot to play out there. So like I don't think anyone needs to rush to play Mirage. Like I think I got it was like a buy two get one sale. So like I paid 40 for it technically through that sale. I grabbed that. I grabbed Starfield, and I grabbed the Metal Gear Solid collection.
Okay.
So I think 40 for all of those technically. So I think it's like a perfect like $30 game, $20 game. But again, it's like one of those like there's probably better games to play, but it is very pretty. It looks great in HDR.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of dipped off Assassin's Creed just frankly because of the length of those games. I mean, they're just it's too much for me at this point. And
oh, you're gonna love this one. It's a 25-hour platinum.
I know, and that's why I'm like,
you platted it?
Not yet, but I'm inching my way there.
I'm much more interested in this game than I have been the past three. I mean, I know everybody raves about the last three, certainly Odyssey, but it's very hard for me to find time to like spend 100 hours on a game these days. And so I've kind of gotten to the point where if games are that long, like I just don't even want to play them.
Odyssey is great, but it's like it's like The Witcher with like fixed combat and like a less well-written story. You know, like it's fundamentally a different game, whereas this is very, very much an Assassin's Creed game.
Dude,
and much like Spider-Man 2, it's a 25-hour platinum.
My favorite thing about Odyssey is that you'll get like a wanted level almost, and they'll send mercenaries out to fight you, try and kill you, right? And these mercenaries have like a homing beacon on you.
Yeah.
And you can activate your eagle vision and sometimes see these dudes just like beelining it to your location. No matter how far away they are or like how hidden you are, you'll see this mercenary just like running up on you. And sometimes like more than one will get you too. And sometimes they're really hard to kill. And it's like really funny. I enjoyed Odyssey a lot.
You can see them running from like almost across the map. And the funniest thing is like if you get on like the third story of like roof, they'll just like show up right to the base of the building, and then they're like, "Fuck, he's not here." Like I don't know what to do. And it's like, "Oh, you haven't heard about my climbing abilities? Like you don't want to like just like climb up? It's ancient Greece. These buildings aren't very big, you know. You don't want to just like jump up a couple flights. Okay, that's cool. And then you have to like try to distract them. And you're right, man. When there's two mercenaries chasing you, trying to get them to fight each other. And even better, when you kill these mercenaries, if they're like ahead of you, like because in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, there's like a specific tab that's just talking about mercenaries, and like you are inadvertently a mercenary because you have to kill like the last one on the list for some mission or whatever, so that puts you on the mercenary list. And then if you kill one who's ahead of you, who's like coming to claim your bounty or whatever, then like you move up, and it's fucking incredible. So good.
Yeah, it's really good.
So George, the other game you had was Battlefield. What's going on there?
I have been playing Battlefield Bad Company 2 nonstop, and I really regret not playing this game more when it was like a new game. So in an effort to head that off, I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 2042 lately, which is the most recent Battlefield game. And I know that game got shit on to death when it first came out. I didn't touch it when it first launched, but like I heard that like it didn't even launch with like a way to see how many kills or deaths you had in a match. Like it was just like a very incomplete, very rushed game.
No leaderboard, yeah.
That is not my experience. This game is fucking awesome. This game is just like a huge, crazy Battlefield game. And I love it so much. I think I'm like level 12, like after playing all weekend with like no double XP or anything. I just played that many matches. I had a blast.
Yeah, I was telling George off air before we started the show that I actually myself was thinking about jumping into this game because it's been a while since I've played Battlefield. I used to just adore that franchise. I mean, I didn't play a bajillion hours, but I probably sunk 300 or 400 hours into both 3 and 4, and Bad Company 2. I'm sure over 100 if I had to guess, but yeah, I never played this one when it released just because it got, like you said, George. I mean, just did not review well at all. I mean, nobody had a positive opinion of it, but I want to play it, and I thought I had snagged it from PlayStation Plus when it was free a few months back, and I went to go to my library and install it, and turns out I just never added it to my library from PlayStation Plus, which is so frustrating. So at some point, I'm gonna have to grab it on sale.
Also, before I give up my microphone, I just want to share 2 things too. One, the other thing I've been doing lately, I've been collecting the fuck out of Pokemon 151 Scarlet and Violet. I am missing just a few of like the chase cards, like the rare art that's in like the back of the set, and I'm missing 2 uncommons that is driving me crazy because I've opened up, I don't know, like realistically like 50 packs before I stopped buying packs, and then I was just buying singles. And somehow in all the packs I opened, I never got a fucking Wartortle. I never got a Squirtle. I never got a Jinx. And I never got a Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. And I'm to the point where the only cards I'm missing now are like Jinx, Vileplume, and then like all the fucking rare cards from the back. But I have a few of those, but like I'm gonna put together a complete set. I'm very excited to
I think I have an alternate art Jinx. Pretty sure.
I pulled 2 of those, but not just like the basic set Jinx.
Oh, okay. So you literally want every card.
Oh, I want every card, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I've never completed a set before. Like even like I used to buy whenever there was a new set of Magic the Gathering, I used to buy a box and try to put together a play set of all the commons and uncommons, and like I thought like the lands at the very least I would just buy those from the shop just because like, you know, it's just like real life, like land's not getting any cheaper. So I did that, and then Magic just flooded the market with too many products, and I just like couldn't keep up. I pre-ordered the Fallout decks, and when they released the Final Fantasy set, I'm realistically gonna buy that too, because I mean, since playing Final Fantasy 16, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Everyone knows that, so I'm gonna buy that. But besides that, Magic is just not for me anymore. It's way too expensive. But that's what I'm doing with Pokemon, and playing Battlefield Bad Company 2 over the weekend. We figured out a way. It's me and like I'm in a group chat with like 15 other people who are also trying to platinum the game before the servers go offline in December 8th. So we've got like a little over a week to go before this shit becomes unobtainable. I'm level 15. You got to get to level 22 so you can unlock the 4th and final pistol, because you got to get 5 kills with every pistol in the game. So like that's all we're shooting for. And we found a way to get like 20 XP in like an hour, basically, which is almost an entire level. And because the way it goes is like, oh, from levels 7 to 8, you need to get 15,000 XP. From level 8 to 9, 16,000. It just does that all the entire way up. But I did something I never thought I would ever do, and I went downstairs and I grabbed like a clamp from my girlfriend's workshop. And there's a certain match type where you have to like arm and disarm a bomb. And so I just like talked to a guy, and we just like set up a private server, and I just like clamped down the circle button of my PlayStation 3, my DualShock 3. And I just sat there and like read comics and like talked to this guy on chat, you know, just trying to like make sure the game didn't shut down yet. And we just did that for like probably 3 hours last week. Fucking incredible. Went up like 8 levels. It was great. I can't wait to, hopefully we'll be doing that again later tonight to cross 22.
Dude, I've done that twice. The first time was in Rocket League for the platinum. You had to drive like a certain amount. And I think Elijah and I both did it where you just like have a rubber band on your controller so that the car is like turning constantly while the right trigger is also stuck down. So it's just constantly driving.
Nice.
And I did that on that game. And then I don't remember why, but I feel like I did it on Final Fantasy 15 for some reason. I can't recall if there was a trophy for like walking a certain distance or something. Seth is nodding his head yes.
Yes, to get the platinum trophy, you had to max out all 4 of the characters' like specific skills.
Okay.
And the one for the big dude, I forget his name.
Oh,
was a survival Gladio. It was a survival skill, and you had to walk a certain distance, and it would go up, and then you could rest. So, but people were doing was they were wrapping a rubber band around their controller and just having the characters run around in circles.
Yeah, did that. I have that platinum.
Incredible.
Well, it was like a ridiculous amount you had to walk.
Yeah.
Like there was no way you were gonna get it naturally. You pretty much had to cheat. It was stupid. And because like right at the beginning of the game they introduced chocobos. So why would you walk anywhere? You know, but
And you have a car.
Like, yeah,
Like-
you have a car. This is stupid.
Seth, what's been going on with you, man? What have you been up to?
Dude, I've been straight cocked up for Christmas, man. I'm just getting into the Christmas spirit and just like, you know,
That's a way to put it.
Decorating and
Decking the
buying
halls, right?
decorations and hanging lights. Yeah, dude. Decking these fucking halls. Someone's halls are getting decked for sure, dude. And then when I've been not doing that, I've been playing more Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky, the
God
third.
damn it.
Almost done with it, dude. Almost done, dude. And I gotta tell you, I was talking to Pedro about this today because me and him have this infamous race, and we both agree we were wrong, completely wrong about the Trails of Cold Steel series. And the only reason we thought that the first game was like terribly boring was because we hadn't played the previous 5 games in the series. And they're like throughout that whole game they're like pulling on these threads that like they set up in the previous games, and we're like, this is stupid, dude. Like, what's going on here? So there's like 100 hours of like setup and like payoffs and stuff that we just didn't get at all. So that was like a pretty interesting revelation, because there's like all kinds of characters in this game that I'm playing that were introduced in Cold Steel, you know, and I'm like, I didn't understand who that character was at all. So no, I'm having a blast, and I'm playing it on Steam Deck, so it's perfect because the game's originally released on PSP. So the PSP, you know, good portable system, and there was no real way to play them these days. So they released on PC, but no one wants to sit their PC and play these games that were meant for a portable system for a long time. That transition doesn't work out well. But on Steam Deck, it's perfect because Caitlin can watch TV and I can play for 20 minutes or so, or here and there, and just hammer it out. So it works out pretty well.
Are you interested in the Steam Deck OLED that they announced? Because it looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice.
I would be if my Steam Deck wasn't fine already. They just didn't give me enough of a reason to upgrade. If they'd been like, oh, it's got like improved specs or whatever, I would have been all in there. But just for like an upgraded screen, I can't justify it. Now, Watson did just buy the OLED model.
Nice.
So I'm a little jealous of that. I got to go check it out and see how that looks. But
does that make you think that there's going to be a Steam Deck 2? The fact that it was just like a screen upgrade and not like an internal?
I mean, there's got to be at some point. The Steam Deck is like widely successful.
Yeah, but just the fact that like it's not like a yearly refresh or like I mean, has it been around long enough to like cell phone style, like every 2 years there's a refresh?
I mean, it released. Did it come out last year? I can't remember when it released.
I think it came out like almost 2 years ago. I got mine in like April. I think that was like 6 months after it came out. But yeah, dude, the Steam Deck's awesome, and I think that it's so successful that Valve would be stupid not to make it a runner up to it, the sequel, whatever you want to call it. That's more powerful because although it can play almost all modern games, it's playing them at like low settings, right? And where it's like barely getting by on them. So I would be down for a Steam Deck too. I love my Steam Deck, man. I play the crap out of that thing.
It looks really nice. I want to get one on one hand, but at the same time, it's like I already have a Switch. I've already got like all these other systems, and frankly, I don't play much handheld. So, but it does look cool. I wish it was. I don't know. I wish it was more like in the $450 range. I know you can probably get the cheapest one for somewhere around there, but I'm not positive. So
I don't think it's been at that price for a long time, dude.
Yeah.
The OLED model is $400.
Okay.
And the LCD model, the lowest end, is $350.
Nice.
with the 512 being 450. Now, it doesn't look like you can get my model anymore, which is the high end LCD.
Okay. Well, interesting. You've been up to anything else, Seth? Anything else you've been playing, watching?
No, man, no, not really. Me and Caitlin did start watching Yu Yu Hakusho. She's never seen it, and I'm like, this is a good one. This is a classic.
Which one?
Yu Yu Hakusho. Spirit Detective.
I'm like 35 episodes in. I'd never seen it. Like I caught random episodes on Toonami as a kid. But
so good, dude.
Yeah, it's really fun, man. And that era of animation, is this age biases? I just think like nothing looks better than 90s anime to me. And I don't know if that's because that was the first time I saw anime, but like something about the coloring of shit today just like looks off to me. Like I was watching like a random clip from like Food Wars or something. And I'm like, this looks like a little too pristine. Like I needed like a little bit more gnar in my shit. And Yu Yu Hakusho does it. A lot of Gundam series, especially 083 and 0080, like anything from like the late 80s, early 90s, just fucking has it in spades.
Yeah, I think you can tell there's like a lot more soul put into anime back then. I think today they have a lot of help from the computer animation and stuff. And I think it comes out real clean. It looks real good. But there is something special about those old school anime where you're like, dude, someone worked in a sweatshop for hours crafting this piece of brilliance right here.
The art styles back then, though, they all have a similar feel, which I liked. I mean, obviously you've got some variation, but I don't know. I think my favorite is Trigun. There's something about the Trigun art style that's just so good, so good. But,
you know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking today about like what I think the greatest moment in anime is, right? And a couple of them came to mind where I'm like, okay, so we got like, you know, Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time. You know, like I think a lot of people would claim like that the episode of Evangelion where he first gets in the mech thing. I don't know. I think that anime is stupid.
You're wrong.
Okay. That's a thought. Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, the greatest moment in anime of all time is in My Hero Academia when Lemillion saves the little girl, dude.
Let's go.
And
I agree.
and, dude, that moment, just thinking about it gets me like all fired up. Have you ever seen My Hero Academia, George?
It's the first like like when did like the people take over the school, like during like the tournament thing? Was that
was the second season, I think, maybe even the first.
I can't even remember.
That was not the first. I remember I had my very good friend from Australia, Pank, was visiting me in San Francisco. You know how we met through the Vita group and like the PlayStation Beyond group on Facebook? I met Pank through the Tech Fetish group because that was the first like IGN podcast I really got into.
I forgot about Tech Fetish.
And so he came up and visited. He's just like, so dude, just like hear me out. Let's just day drink and watch this show. I think you'd really like it. You like superheroes. I like anime. Like let's just try this out. And I watched the first season. I was like, all right, yeah, sure, let's keep going. Like I got a show. I think I got either through season 2 or like halfway through season 2.
So there is I know what arc you're talking about. It wasn't a tournament. It was like a training grounds, I think.
It was a training ground. It was like the school tournament, basically. It was fundamentally tournament arc, right? Like they were seeing who the strongest kid was.
Yeah. So there's this character called Lemillion, and he was known to have like a really useless quirk, which was that he could pass through like walls and stuff, and he like perfected it for combat, and he became one of like the top students at UA. And they're in this operation because this gang has captured this little girl. This main villain has like this crazy thing where he can like disintegrate everything. And they have this dude that makes these bullets with darts in them, and when they hit somebody, they take away their quirk permanently, right? So everyone gets like distracted and held back, and Lemillion phases through all these traps into this room, and he's face to face with this villain, and they start fighting, and it's like a brawl, and one of the villain's like companions shoots Lemillion with this dart and takes away his quirk in the middle of this fight. And dude, incredible moment where it turns out that like it wasn't his quirk that makes him so good, dude. Like he starts trading hands with this villain and like just smacking the shit out of him. And it is now down. It's just straight up brawl, right? So good. And he like is like, you know, throwing his cape and like distracted him, and top tier anime moment, man. Absolute top tier. And he's not even like a major character. He's a random side character, and he's got probably the best story in the whole series. So good, dude.
There's a lot of really good moments in My Hero in general like that, but I do think that's probably at the top.
Yeah.
So
and he had this whole thing where the little girl's name was Aerie. She's like really cute. She has like a single horn coming up. He's like, I just had to make sure she had hope, and he just like, and I'm like, I'm that guy. That's literally me.
then you immediately get the moment, sorry to spoil like all this show for those who have not watched it, but immediately after where Midori goes Super Saiyan, like immediately for the first time, just like a tandem of excellent moments.
See, that's how you know Goku going Super Saiyan is the greatest anime moment of all time.
Because it's referred.
Because you just compared this moment to Goku going Super Saiyan.
For sure. So
that is
true.
People that don't even watch anime like know what that is. So that is a big one. But I really do think people like most people don't even know that this episode exists.
Is it
like,
the greatest?
So
okay,
good.
Is that the greatest moment, or did it just make you emotional? Like, it's okay if that's the answer.
No, because like the thing is that this type of thing has been done before, right? It's like a superhero getting his power taken away isn't new, but it is the way that it was told and the way that it was done that made it a step above everything else. Because this character is introduced even as far back as like season 2 or 3, and he's like this random weird guy who just like pops out of the floor, and you have no idea who he is. And then he shows up a little bit in the next season, and you realize he's like a major player at this school, and he has like a one-on-one fight with the entire class, and he like decimates them. And everyone's like, oh, who's this like weird guy? And then they and his story is like slowly breadcrumbed to you throughout. And it has this amazing payoff at the end where like, yeah, he loses his power, but he still got the victory. And he saved this girl, and it's like a really good, phenomenal told moment.
Good
I think.
Character development too.
Yeah, it's like you know, all like it's in my opinion the best moment of the entire anime right there, and I think it's one of the best in general in all of anime. It's really good.
No, I'm with Coach and whatever he's gonna say. It's probably something from Macross or Robotech.
Speed Racer.
When Speed Racer hits the gas.
Yeah, when when the monkey gets scared about him hitting a turn too fast. Yeah,
Chim. I do remember when Macross, the Robotech, when it debuted, like it was a pretty big event.
Was that a Saturday morning cartoon?
No, that was during the week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was during the week, and from what I remember, it wasn't Fox back then, but in San Diego, Channel 6 turned into Fox. So, and it was, from what I remember, it was on Channel 6, but yeah, it was a pretty big event. Like we were into it. I was like maybe 8th grade, I think, when that came out. So, and we didn't have a lot of,
because like when Murdoch basically like put together Fox in the 90s and just like bought a whole bunch of like random affiliates and like turned that into a cable network basically.
Yeah. Basically, that's the channel where I got to see a lot of Godzilla and Bruce Lee movies on Saturday afternoon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Well, on my end, not as much going on this time as last episode. I know the previous episode I was like, yeah, I've been doing this, and this. But really, the main things I've been up to, first off, just from a TV standpoint, finally got caught up on the newer seasons of Doctor Who, which I had not been. And so finished
the The Jodie Whittaker stuff.
Yeah. I'd only watched season 1, and Andie and I were rewatching the whole thing because she had never seen, or not season 1, season 1 of Jodie's Doctor. We were rewatching the whole thing because Andie had never seen Doctor Who before, and we finally watched her second and third seasons. They were fine, to be honest. I feel like her storytelling just in general was not great, but watched those, got caught up there, and then watched the new special that just came out, which was phenomenal, and very excited to see where they take the series. I hope it stays high quality.
For those who don't know Doctor Who, basically it's really two people that make a season of Doctor Who work. It's like the head writer who's like the showrunner, and then it's the person playing the Doctor.
Right.
And so for the first 4 seasons of the reboot, starting in 2004-ish, 2003-ish, whenever it came back, it was Russell T Davies and first Christopher Eccleston and then David Tennant. That was like the Doctor and showrunner combo, right? And then baton handed to Stephen Moffat and then Matt Smith and then Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat for the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, 6 years.
And then it was, I don't even know the showrunner who it was.
Chris Chibnall.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Jodie Whittaker, right?
Yep.
I just don't think, granted, I only watched like the first season of the Jodie Whittaker stuff. I didn't think it had like as much of a personality as the Russell T Davies and the Stephen Moffat stuff. So I just didn't think it had like flavor. I didn't think it had like a point of view.
It just didn't have.
That's why I fell off. But now it's back. Russell T Davies, doesn't he like own Doctor Who now?
He doesn't own it, but he has his own production company called Bad Wolf Production or something like that, which if you know anything about Doctor Who, that's a reference to something that happens in the first season. So he named his production company off of something he wrote in the first season of Doctor Who. Anyway.
Good reference. That's actually the greatest moment in anime when you realize what Bad Wolf is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But yeah, everybody loves those first 4 seasons, myself included, and he's back now in charge of Doctor Who, which is extraordinarily exciting. So anyway,
the special was good. How many are there supposed to be before the new series kicks off?
There will be 2 more. So there will be one this coming Saturday and then one the following Saturday. And then there will actually be one additional special on Christmas Day. They are bringing back the Christmas special that they used to have. And then from there, yes, all of these are on Disney Plus now. From there, at some point, they haven't announced when, but after the Christmas special, there will be a new season at some point. So
I'm back, man. Do I need to watch the Jodie Whittaker stuff?
I don't really think so. Read up on what happens because, frankly, they retconned some of the Doctor's lore, which I'm not a fan of whatsoever, but I bet they're not just going to forget that happened.
So the actor from the reboot, the first season, he was only there for 1 year.
Christopher Eccleston.
He didn't come back. He was awesome, bro. Like
he's great. He's great. He's a great Doctor. I loved him, but the rumors were always that he just didn't get along with Russell T Davies. Who knows how true that is, but the rumors were that like he just didn't jive with.
Oh, I read that he didn't want to be typecast as like a nerd genre dude.
That makes sense.
Because everything else I've seen is Christopher Eccleston. Everything else I've ever seen, and he's been like a fucking villain.
That's true.
But so it's like, all right, dude, you're already typecast as a villain. Like, don't you kind of want to be the hero or like anti-hero as that Doctor was?
No, I do think there's possibility for him to come back though, because, and sorry, we're going way into Doctor Who stuff, and I know George and I are like the only people that have ever seen that show. So I apologize.
Listen to you nerds talk about anime for 16 years. It's fine.
Chris Eccleston did come back recently on the Big Finish audio productions, which if you know anything about like British television, that's kind of a thing over there where they'll take a really popular franchise or series or even just an original IP and make what's essentially like a radio show that is an audio only like storytelling, I don't know, medium. And so Chris Eccleston recently came back to play the Doctor for the first time in like 20 years on several of those Big Finish audio productions, which like in the past, I mean, he absolutely refused to do. So I would hope that there's maybe some like chance of him returning to the show at some point because he's great. He's a good actor. Yeah.
Well, the sidekick from the first year, the female actress.
Yeah, Rose.
She did. Yeah, Rose. She did such a good job. Like, I fell in love with her just watching.
Yeah.
Like she brought me into it. So
Yeah. David Tennant's the man though, so I'm glad to see him back. He's my favorite, like without a doubt. So some good stuff going on there. But
he's my favorite too, but like also Matt Smith, somehow underrated doctor. I don't know how.
yeah,
People like Capaldi way more than I understand. I don't really care for the Capaldi stuff.
I love Capaldi. I would actually put Capaldi above Matt Smith, but
Interesting.
But I think Matt Smith's writing is better than Capaldi's. The problem is Capaldi, like as an actor, and the way that his character is portrayed is excellent, but the plot and the stories I think are much better with Matt Smith's era.
I think he's a fucking loser. He's like, well, I can play guitar. Can't you give me a scene where I come out playing guitar on a tank, talking to a Dalek? It's like, okay, guy, yeah, that's fucking sick. Guitar.
Okay, so anyway, enough of that nonsense. Because again, I know George and I are really the ones that care. The other thing I've been up to, really the only thing I've been doing, is I've totally finished up Alan Wake 2. Got the platinum in it last night, actually. And I mean, I don't know what else could be said that I haven't already said. The game is absolutely freaking excellent in every way. I'm really excited to see where this franchise goes because it really is something special. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it, but there's like just something about that universe, something about Control and Alan Wake that is hitting me right now like nothing ever else has from a game perspective outside of maybe Metal Gear Solid. But it's just so good.
Is it your game of the year so far?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And frankly, I don't think anything's going to
until Avatar comes out.
Yeah, that's
next
right.
Week.
That's right. That's right. So it's well worth the play. But I know Seth and I mentioned this on a previous episode. If you're going to play it, you kind of need to play Alan Wake, and you don't have to play Control, but I'd say at a minimum you need to play the first Alan Wake and Control if you can. So it's very good.
I think it's necessary. Like, I don't know what the director was talking about when he said you didn't have to. Like, you had no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I could
play those two games.
I mean, I could somewhat see not playing Control and still understanding it, but Alan Wake, no. I mean, you need to know what happens in Alan Wake to understand like what the hell is going on in 2. So, but I jumped in. Oh, go ahead.
Never mind. I just now, as I was saying that, I remembered that you posted this on Facebook. So go ahead. Or Twitter or whatever it was. Yeah,
so I just jumped. The only other thing I've been doing just briefly is I jumped back after I finished Alan Wake 2 to Alan Wake Remastered because I didn't have time to replay it before 2 came out. And I'm not super far in, maybe just an hour and a half, but I'm looking forward to playing further. There are more references than I remember. There are little things here and there, and I'm glad that I've played 2 and I'm now going back instead of reverse because they're just little things that I'm noticing, and I'm like, wow, they actually did something with this in 2. So it's going to be fun to play it, although by comparison to 2, which is probably the best looking game I've ever played, it looks pretty rough. So
yeah, I played Alan Wake for the first time like 2 years ago, and I fucking hated my experience with it. I mean, like the story is great, dude. But I hate how it controls. The combat is my least favorite part of that game, and it's so awkward to me that the pivot point for the aiming is at his wrist, which is completely antithetical to like how modern third-person shooters work. But when you're controlling the flashlight, you're controlling it from like his wrist. And it's so hard. It was so hard for me to adapt to that I'm like, I absolutely hate this.
Yeah. It does not play anywhere near as good as the second game. And I will say this, that as much as I adore 2, I still think the gameplay and Control is much more precise than in Alan Wake 2. Yeah. That game is freaking flawless.
It's the best Star Wars game. It's not a Star Wars game.
I was listening to Take Control earlier, the song that's in that game, and I just 7.5 minutes of goodness, and I was like remembering everything from that game, and I'm dying to go back to it. I think that's got to be a top 5 game of all time for me. So, but,
I agree.
Anyway, that's all I've been up to. So I wanted to quickly hit on here, because we haven't really gotten to this. We are now at 3 years since the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 first released way back in 2020. Kind of crazy that it's been that long already. I mean, presumably we're either at or a little under halfway through the system's life cycle. So I know we all have either one or both of these systems. And so I just wanted to kind of round out the show here with a discussion on where we're at and what we think about the system so far, now 3 years in. So I know last year, I think we were all kind of the opinion of like, nothing really is hitting these systems that make them feel new. And I'm curious to see if that's changed for any of you guys this past year. So Seth, what are your thoughts on, I know you don't have a Series X, but what are your thoughts on the state of the PlayStation 5?
Yeah. A state is what I would call it. Maybe a state of stasis is a good term, dude, because I feel like this year is the first time we've gotten games that felt like pretty impressive. And specifically just at the end of the year here with Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2. Now I haven't played Returnal. I heard people say Returnal seems to be like a big heavy hitter for the PlayStation 5 to showcase what it's made of, but I don't know, man. I just still feel like where are we at? And you know, to be fair, I don't know if it's the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, or if it's the state of the gaming industry in general. You know, I still am of the mind that we probably didn't need this console generation yet. That's kind of where I'm at. Is just like, I don't know that we ever need a new console generation, to be honest with you. Like, at what point is enough? Because we're already getting to like a what's that called when like humanity meets technology?
Singularity.
We're reaching like a singularity with video games, right? Where like the tech is going up and up, but like the companies can't afford to make the games to meet the tech. And in my personal opinion, video games are impressive enough as it is. And I don't need my video games to have this ultra lifelike quality that is more than we have already. Like you look at something like The Last of Us Part 2 or something like that, right? It's like, man, like this looks phenomenal. And I think it's enough. I really do think that like we're at a point now where like we've reached the quality and price of video games and they've met, right? And it's like, okay, well, like we don't need to increase the quality and performance of video games anymore. We can already do whatever we want with a video game. We can make whatever world we want. We can make whatever, you know, environment, whatever actor we want come to life. I mean, we're seeing now that they're taking like real actors from TV and movies and capturing them into video games. Hate that trend, by the way, but it's something they're capable of. And they're doing it to like a pretty amazing degree. And I think that might be the reason this console generation feels so stale, because you look at like the massive leaps of technology and performance in the last console generations, and it's like a very noticeable massive jump forward. And I think from the PS4 or the PS4 Pro to the 5, there's just not that jump needed. And there's the SSD, and that's very impressive, but I personally, I wasn't complaining about loading times on the last console generation. You know, I thought it was fine. Whatever. I get 30 seconds or 15 seconds to look at my phone or, you know, take a breather. And they made it work. And we're still getting those a lot of times with like animations and stuff. It's just, I don't know, man. I think we've reached, like I said, a singularity where it's like, enough is enough. These games look lifelike. I know we've always said that, but I really, so honest to God, for the last 5 years, I don't know that I've noticed a measurable increase in visual fidelity in video games. That's all I gotta say.
Coach.
It's
Austin.
All right, George.
So, I mean, just thinking about how, go back to the PS1, right? And those first early games they were releasing, but it wasn't really sticking, and it took a little while, but then it was just banger after banger, and then the PS2, PS3, like, so all these systems, it took a little bit for the ball to get rolling, but it wasn't that long, and then you started having amazing game after amazing game, right? Like the Christmas time, of course, was big, and then in the summer with E3, with all the announcements, there was always like a lot of really good games coming out, right? Especially during PS3 and the Xbox 360. But now there is it. I think it is just this, like, what Seth asked: is it Sony or is it just the state of gaming? I think it's almost the state of gaming right now, where, I mean, it's cool to have these, but is it what it was like before, 2-3 generations ago, where we were getting these companies were young and we were getting these amazing games after amazing games? I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel the same as it used to be. I'll say that. I'll say that.
I don't disagree with you. George, now you can talk.
Thank you.
Let's go.
No, sorry, Seth made a good point that I wanted to expand on, but I actually forgot what he said that I wanted to talk about in more detail. I think the video game industry, because I think you guys are right. Like, I think it's inextricable to talk about the consoles without talking about the games industry at large. I think the games industry is falling even faster than the movie industry is into like a trend that I find concerning, where you're right, Seth, and you're right too, Coach, where it's like the fidelity and the attention to detail that games are able to do now is unprecedented. It's unnecessarily unprecedented, right? And with movies, it's like a studio would so much rather spend $250 million on one movie and make $750 million than spend $200 million, $250 million, whatever number I said, on 5 movies and make the same amount of money. I don't know what it is, but they would so much rather just do the one movie. I don't know if it keeps like their tax purposes. Like, I don't know what it is, but they just don't care. And like, personally, I would so much rather have more bites at the apple. And it feels like we're at a point where a studio really only feels comfortable putting out one A+ game every 5 years, as opposed to a B+ game every 3. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I would so much rather have a B+ game every 2 or 3 years. Like, Skyrim came out November 11th, 2011. I don't know when The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come out, 15 years later, and it's because Skyrim set such a fucking high bar. And like, I appreciate what it's like to follow up on something that everyone considers masterful and all this, but like, man, it like you inadvertently fell into like a Half-Life Episode 3 situation or a Half-Life 3 situation for yourself. And I think that that's like a really dangerous thing for the video game industry, where like all of a sudden, like, games studios were going bankrupt before, and they weren't spending 5 years making a game, when they were just making like a year on a game, when they were spending 2 years on a game. And so like, I think we're going to get to a point where there's just going to be like the main people, like we're not going to get, like, I think that the indie scene is going to thrive for PC, but it's just going to be like little shitty arcade experiences, no offense, that I just like kind of don't care about, where it's basically going to become like miniclip.com or like Newgrounds circa like 2003, just because that's the only thing people can like afford to make when they're not working on a AAA budget. And the thing that I always go back to is that like the Wii was incredibly underpowered compared to the 360 and the PS3. Fucking Mario Galaxy was still one of the best looking games that came out that year, because it's not about graphical fidelity, it's about creativity. And I feel like gamers today and game developers today are confusing graphical fidelity and creativity. Where it's like, oh, we can make a more realistic looking thing. It's like, yeah, but that's not a fucking interesting thing. You know what's not cool about like a perfectly detailed peacoat in your game is the fact that I fucking have one in my closet. Like, I know what it looks like. You don't need to do it. Like, you can sum up the idea of a thing. That's my thoughts on the video game industry and my concern. My biggest concern about, like, I predominantly play on the PlayStation 5. I think the PlayStation 5 physically looks like someone's idea of the future from 1999, and that's why I was so excited with its like fucking wacky bullshit idea.
It's so true.
Like, it looked like a video game console in a Dreamcast game, right? Like, it looked like oh, it's a Sega 2028 cast or whatever the fuck they'd call it. I'm just not seeing it with the games. And like Seth, you're right. This is the first year we finally got like what felt like PlayStation 5 games, but I felt like we got 3 of them. You know, like, and yeah, man, like, you don't like I like I said, I've been playing a lot of Battlefield Bad Company 2 lately. You didn't need to do much more than Battlefield Bad Company 2. That's a pretty fucking good game. Make it, I don't know, 10% prettier, and like most people will be happy. Like, I don't know, everyone feels subservient to the people complaining about whatever random bullshit thing on the internet. We just gotta shut up, people. We just gotta shut everyone up. Seth, like, you're like, no one was complaining about loading times. I think you're like 99% right.
Yeah, I think so too. The only time I ever remember people like really complaining about loading times was in Mass Effect and Bloodborne, right? And Bloodborne's were like real bad. They were unacceptable, especially in a game where you die a lot. That was rough. But yeah, dude, like I said, last 5 years, I haven't really noticed a massive measurable difference in quality. And yet these developers are packing way more detail into these games. It's like, this is how I feel also about, like, by the way, like 4 to 8K TVs. I'm like, dude, at some point, the pixels are so small that I literally cannot tell the difference. I cannot tell.
I can somewhat get the want for 4K, because there is a difference if you sit close enough or have a large enough display from 1080 or 1440. But 8K, like,
yeah,
unless you've got like a 30-foot tall TV, like, you're not going to see a difference.
Yeah, and that's what I feel about like games being made today. I'm like, dude, you guys are wasting your time packing this much visual fidelity in here, because we were cool with games a decade ago, man. And they like sure, like, you could tell it was a video game, but now it's like you guys you're detailing things on such a minute microscopic level. And I think in a certain way, Unreal Engine 5, when that like really catches on and becomes popular, that's going to help with that, with its scanning technology, if they decide to use it. But yeah, I don't know. I think that we're also in this cycle, like George said, where the developers are making one game and it's taking 5 to 7 years. And it's like, God.
See, that's my big problem, to be honest with you. It's like,
yeah,
it's not even necessarily the fidelity, because I actually kind of disagree with you, Seth, in a little bit. Like, I do like the fidelity of the games we're getting these days, but I mean, like Alan Wake 2, absolutely gorgeous. I felt like the way that game looks does add to the experience, but sure, at the same time, and I know you've also voiced this in the past, Seth, and I'm sure that we all kind of feel this way. The budgets and the development times of these games to reach these fidelity points, it's far too extensive now, because now we've got games like Alan Wake 2, Last of Us 2, where we're not going to get follow-ups to those games, these very, very story-driven games, for 4-5 years. I mean, Remedy came out like a couple of weeks ago and said they just started pre-production on Control 2, and I'm like,
that hurts so much, dude. That like breaks my heart.
Yeah. So and then we had that I don't know if it was a leak or what it was, but the whole thing with Mass Effect, where they've been showing the new Mass Effect gameplay or trailers rather, and they're saying that's not even going to be out till 2029.
Like,
and I'm like, stop. It's just, guys, there's got to be a breaking point. Okay, I can get behind like the super massive, Avengers Endgame budget style games, as far as like a Grand Theft Auto 6. Okay, I could maybe get behind like one of those every 10 years, sure. But like, does every game need to be this obnoxiously high budget, obnoxiously large team, perfect fidelity? The answer is no. Absolutely not. So and it's frustrating.
Dude, I also just want to like comment back to what George said about art style. Such so much more important than like actual detail, man. There is a breaking point, right? Where like we've talked about before, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3, some of the most amazing art and environments that have ever been made look like absolute crap and garbage. So that's a problem. But I mean, you get them onto like a modern console and like get some anti-aliasing in there and makes the resolution not 140p or something like that. Perfect. But yeah, I just think you change the art style a little bit.
Yeah.
Dogs barking. And
I think the Switch is an interesting to talk about when it comes to creativity, because they have this extreme hardware limitation. And frankly, I mean, I know not everybody's into the Nintendo exclusive games and the games that they offer, but they are putting out way more games than any other system. And I wonder if this is just pure speculation, but I would wonder if that's because of the limitations they have, and because they're not trying to make, you know, an Alan Wake 2 or a Grand Theft Auto 6 or a Last of Us Part 3. They're just trying to make fun games that can fit on the Switch.
sure. And like, I wish the Switch was like a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You know, I wish the Switch was at like, you know, the PS4 level. But I'm so cool with like PS4 Pro level games.
Yeah.
And like that is, in my opinion, perfect. That is the sweet spot right there. So I don't need like this realistic environment that we're shooting for these days.
Well, I gotta be honest, I've been replaying my PlayStation 3 a lot lately. Like maybe that was the peak. Like maybe that's like
Sure.
Battlefield 2 still looks, Bad Company 2 still looks really good. I played some fucking Burnout Paradise. Game still looks pretty good, man. You know, it's been 15 years. Still looks awesome.
I was seeing gameplay from Spec Ops: The Line today. I was like, man, that looks pretty good. So yeah.
Well, think about the developers from the last like 2-3 generations ago, like Naughty Dog when they first started, right? You had Sucker Punch, you had Rare, you had Bungie, you had Retro Studios, you had all of these companies that were still like, because the technology was growing, they were trying to do their best, but they weren't. The games were coming out every 2 to 3 years, right? Maybe 3 to 4 years. And another thing, and I know you guys said this, but that's not happening anymore. No. You know, maybe Spider-Man, only because they reused a lot of assets. So the time from Miles Morales really to Spider-Man 2 wasn't that long. It was just enough to jump back in and be like, okay, let's go. But we're not going to have that. Like, when's the next whatchamacallit, God of War gonna be? You know,
that's what I was just gonna bring up, dude. Like, that series drives me absolutely insane because they're using long form storytelling in a medium where you can only get one entry every 5 years. So it's like, why? Give me like a solid story without any like strings that aren't pulled at. You know, maybe leave room for a sequel, but stop giving me cliffhangers in video games when you're not going to give me the next entry until I might be dead. I might be dead in 5 years. I don't know. I could have a heart attack at any moment.
Cliffhangers work in soap operas when the next episode is the next day, and comic books when the next issue is the next month. But yeah, like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on in Tamriel? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know the only one who like really gives a shit about Elder Scrolls, but like, what's going on with the fucking Thalmor, right?
Yes.
Oh, they outlawed praying to this god. Cool. What's gonna be the fucking fallout from that, man? Because you are the embodiment of that god. So like, what does that mean?
And to your credit, George, because I respect the Elder Scrolls lore. All right. I think I brought this up earlier in the year. Bethesda has been giving us breadcrumbs for a plot line in every Elder Scrolls game, going back to the first one about this lost king in a different continent. Hey, make it pay off at some point, man.
Yeah, I mean, the first game only came out 30 fucking years ago, so I'm sure we're gonna get to that breadcrumb any second now. Just gonna
make it pay off at some point, dude. I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna smack him. So Todd Howard, right?
Oh my lord! I just want to say, because we haven't really talked about too much the PS5 and Series X themselves. I'm relatively happy with the PS5. I mean, it's essentially, this is the same conversation we've had a couple years in the past now, but It's essentially just replaced my PS4. I mean, it's a stronger, faster PS4, which I'm fine with because I love the PS4. But the Series X, I don't know. I mean, I've never been a huge Xbox guy. It was never like my go-to system. I've always been more lenient on the PlayStation and Nintendo system. So maybe it's just, bias from my years of gaming. But the Series X just is not hitting, man. There is nothing releasing on that system that is of note.
I canceled Game Pass and I just bought a code that just gave me Xbox Live so I could keep playing Gears of War with Fabio. I'm like, okay, I just want to play games online. Like, I'm not giving you $16 a month for this shit anymore.
Dude, Xbox has straight up priced themselves out of the console space. It's crazy. I don't know what they were thinking. And maybe they don't want to sell consoles anymore. I don't know, right? But I have no reason to buy an Xbox because they have made all their games come to PC, right? If you can't afford a PC, you can play all their games on the Game Pass app and stream them to whatever device you have. And dude, it's not that bad. It's like pretty good quality if you have good internet. So there is no reason to buy an Xbox. There's nothing there for you. If you're just throwing $500 in the trash. So it's like, and especially, dude, if people are like struggling with money, they're probably going to go with the Game Pass route, right? Because with Game Pass, you get a ton of games for a pretty minor price per month. They're not the ones buying like high-end technology. So I don't know who's buying the Xbox Series X, because if you really do care about like visual fidelity and technology, you're going to have the PC, and probably a PS5 for the exclusives. But the Xbox S and X lie in this like weird middle ground where there's no real reason to buy one either way.
That it's also weird because it's like traditionally console manufacturers don't make money on consoles the first few years, right? Like they price it super low, they eat some of the cost to get into more houses, and the theory is that people buy enough games that through licensing the Xbox architecture to game developers who develop games for Xbox, that they'll make it back through software. Like I fundamentally remember when Uber came out and we were all like, oh fuck, this is awesome. This is so much cheaper than a cab. This is great. And then Lyft came out, oh fuck, this is sick. This is so much cheaper than a cab. When every tech pushed through, when Netflix came out, fuck, this is so much cheaper than buying DVDs. This is awesome. And then remember when that system replaced the system it was competing with and then jacked up their prices so fucking much that you can like barely afford to use them anymore, to the point that like
it's a cycle.
I don't use Airbnb anymore, man. I use hotels because guess what? Hotels are cheaper than Airbnb. I don't use Uber or Lyft anymore because guess what, man? Fucking cabs are cheaper. I use Netflix, but only because it has Seinfeld. Whatever. I'm weak. But besides that, like every fucking thing that was supposed to be improved with technology just became the old thing, except shittier and more expensive than the thing it replaced. And so like I'm really like, at first I was like, oh, Game Pass, this is a fucking miracle. Okay, like when is it gonna like when is it going to like take its fucking mask off and just be the old man haunting the amusement park?
The prices are already going up, right? So like it's a matter of time. Like it's happening slowly. It's gonna be the Netflix.
I'm sure next year it's gonna be awesome, right? Like we're gonna get Avowed, we're gonna get Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice 2, we're gonna get all these fucking games in theory that were promised within the last 5 years. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I still don't understand what is taking Avowed so long, considering how quickly they did. What was Obsidian's
Outer Worlds?
Yeah, thank you. How like they turned that shit around pretty fast. And so I'm like, what's taking so long with Avowed? Also, like I fucking need a first-person dungeon crawler fantasy game because where the fuck is Elder Scrolls 6? I digress. Like I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. Like at least with PlayStation, they have all these games, so I fundamentally don't understand how PlayStation Plus operates. But like a lot of the games are just like first party, like, oh, Siphon Filter is made playable on PlayStation 5. I'm like, okay, like you own that game. I understand why that's here. It's a lot of games that they own or like associated directly with the PlayStation brand. And then with Game Pass, it's just like, oh, here's this fucking game you never heard of that just showed up and is here. It's like, all right, like, so pretty soon you're telling me Game Pass is going to be $30 a month. And then I'm just like, I bought a physical copy of Starfield just so I could delete like cancel my Game Pass subscription. Like that's like I'm fucking done. That's 4 months of Game Pass. I'm like, okay.
I haven't had a Game Pass subscription in like almost a year now at this point, and I've actually this is weird, but I've reverted back to the point where like I'd rather just buy the freaking game.
Yeah.
Because
I think everyone's so tired of subscriptions.
Well, absolutely. And like I'll subscribe to Game Pass, I'll play Light Sim. I'm not going to play the other 150 games. I'm never going to play them.
No.
Well, there's no value. Like if you get Forza Horizon 16 or whatever the fuck it is, and like, oh, cool, it's free. Like, well, it's free. I can just play it whenever. Like, I didn't pay for it. It's like, well, actually, you've been paying for it for the last 3 fucking years, is what you don't realize, and you're gonna be paying for it for the next 10. But whatever. But it's like, there's no urgency. There's no like sunk cost fallacy at that point, right? Like the reason everyone played Spider-Man 2 within a week was because it cost them $70 fucking. I'm like, okay, I want to see if my investment was worth it or not.
Yep.
I know I'm an outlier because I haven't finished it yet, but most of America who has spoiled the game for me on Twitter played it within the first fucking 7 hours, I guess, of the game being released, and like shared a bunch of shit I wish I hadn't seen. But like, it's because there's like there's a supply issue. There's like a scarcity there that just doesn't exist fundamentally on Xbox.
By the way, just for clarity's sake, and we may all be in the same boat. I don't know about you, George, but not only do I not have Game Pass, I don't have like the collection stuff on PlayStation Plus either. I've only got like the basic tier, and frankly, the only reason I have that is so I can get the cloud saves. I have no interest anymore in like either of those platforms.
I have PlayStation Plus Premium because I play so many old games. Like that's why I actually use it to play like Infamous 2 and shit like that. Like I do the cloud play, but I was paying for both, and I'm like, no, I refuse to pay for both. I'm only going to pay for one, so I just settled on PlayStation.
You know what drives me nuts though about the PlayStation Cloud Save thing is how erratic and non-consistent it is.
It doesn't work.
When I close a game on Steam, dude, it uploads like that immediately. When I close a game on PlayStation, sometimes they automatically upload my saves and sometimes they don't. The amount of times I have to go up and turn my old ass PS4 on to upload a save is like ridiculous, man. And I lost my Dragon Age Inquisition save because I wanted to go back and play the DLC. Completely gone, dude. That save is gone because I changed PS4s and it never uploaded the save. And I'm like,
when I bought Ghost of Tsushima on PlayStation 5, I like downloaded a save. It wasn't the most recent save for Ghost of Tsushima. So I like downloaded, I was like, okay, let's auto pop that platinum, baby. And then like 8 trophies popped, and I was like, what the fuck? So I had to like go find my PlayStation 4 in my basement, dig it out of the box, dust it off, make sure it still worked, find my PlayStation cloud save, upload it to the cloud. It's just like, okay, it didn't go there. Okay, now I can do it. And then so there's like a 12-hour delay between me popping my first trophies in Ghost of Tsushima 5 and popping like the last 30. I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal, but like, what if I sold my PlayStation 4 and didn't have access to this anymore? Like how is this the service you're bragging about if it doesn't fundamentally work the way everyone who has it would expect it to work?
Yes.
And I will say this, to Xbox's part, I could be wrong, but I believe all the cloud save stuff on Xbox is totally free, and it works just like it does on Steam.
Yeah.
So
good.
I remember making fun of Xbox when they were talking about smart delivery for their games. I was like, that's so fucking stupid. Like, that's just like on Mad Men when they're like, it's toasted. It's like, well, everyone toasts their tobacco. He's like, no, but you're the only one saying it, so it's toasted. It's different. I was like, that's so fucking dumb. Like, of course this is gonna how it's supposed to be on PlayStation. I didn't know for the first 2 weeks I was playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War that I was playing the PlayStation 4 version on my PlayStation 5. Even though I remember inserted a PlayStation 5 disc, it still downloaded the PlayStation 4 version. I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, why? Like, and I had to like take my hat off. I'm like, all right, Xbox, like, good job. Like, I didn't know it's not a given. You're totally right. You nailed that.
There should be some sort of check and balance here.
So
seriously.
Alden in the chat,
Switch is the best console. I think we've all settled on. That's
right. So
Yeah.
Alden in the chat had a few things. He said another thing to consider is that Microsoft. This was earlier when we were talking about development times and stuff like that. Microsoft only this year gave the go-ahead to not have games running on Series S at launch. It probably held back a lot of third-party games. Plus, it always takes a lot of time to learn how to develop for different systems. And then he said he has PS Plus Premium because he bought it last year for 4 years at like $80 a year around Thanksgiving. So
That's really good. That's like
Makes-
half off. Basically.
Makes sense. But yeah, that is true on the Series S front. So, because I know, is it Baldur's Gate or something like kind of held them back, and that's why it's taken them so long to release it on Xbox, is because they were trying to figure out how to get it to run on Series S.
Yeah.
I think so, because that was a mandate, right? That it had
Yeah.
to run on both. I like understand the Series S. I wouldn't have called it Xbox Series X and Series S. I would have done like I would have brought back like Xbox Arcade. Remember, like not Xbox Live Arcade, but like the Xbox Arcade where it was like the 2 gigabyte or 4 gigabyte hard drive Xbox that was significantly cheaper than like the Pro or whatever they did all those years ago. Something like that. And just like, hey, this is like really good casual shit.
By the way, one thing my last note here for PS5 and Series X this past year, one thing we have not brought up is the fact that they launched PSVR 2 on PlayStation 5 in February or March. And
February.
I do not hear a single person literally ever talk about PSVR 2.
I bought one. It got delivered here on launch day. I played 6 hours that night of it because there was a Star Wars game. Tales from Galaxy Edge Enhanced Edition.
Good game.
Yeah, haven't touched it since that day. I have been meaning to go back. I have a week off between Christmas and New Year's from work. I intend to just play VR games because I need to justify that purchase. I got Horizon, I've got Moss 2, and I've got that Star Wars game to finish.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I know the hardware itself is great, but frankly, it seems kind of like another dud, to be honest with you, from a sales perspective. I mean, I just literally never hear anybody talk about the thing ever.
Sony needed to dump some support. It's like the Vita, dude. They didn't make any of their developers make any games for the Vita. They were worried about losing money. I mean, like you made the fucking product, you got to support it.
Yeah.
Stop letting things die. It's ridiculous.
What's amazing though is that the PlayStation Portable is like not in stock anywhere. Like it's constantly selling out. I like get notifications from Horde64. They're like, there might be a few units at Best Buy. If you want one, you should jump on it. Like I can't believe that thing is selling so well. I wonder how many people are buying it to be a remote play device and how many people think it is a portable PlayStation 5.
Dude, that's what I was wondering.
I love, by the way, the fact that thing, for those unaware, can only stream PS5 games to it. It's weird that you can't stream the PS Plus cloud games to it. I don't understand that at all.
They said that's coming in the future.
I love the fact...
Weird thing not to have their day one.
Agree. I love the fact that thing has an airplane mode. Just absolutely useless feature. Literally no use for that feature at all. And it has an airplane mode.
That must be some old OS that they're running on it then.
Probably.
It does run Android. It's an Android-based system.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard much about that thing either, aside from the fact that most reviews I've watched have been very like, you probably don't want to buy this.
Sorry, I wouldn't be surprised if the people that are buying it are the ones that are trying to review it on YouTube, just to say that they have it and they're reviewing it. Because, I mean,
I watched, and this guy, Coach Wolf Den, he does a podcast with Beat 'em Ups, which is actually ending. But he did a review of it, and he was given it for free by Sony, and he was showing some gameplay of Spider-Man, and it just like kept lagging on him constantly, and he was like 5 feet away from his PS5, and the audio was like clipping in and out, and I'm like, this just...
The IGN review was really optimistic, and I really love that review because it's written by their editor, Seth Macy, who lives in Maine. Not that far from me. I actually bought a TV off him a few months ago. I have a really nice, like 35-inch CRT downstairs that I was going to turn into like my classic gaming TV. I'm very excited. But he like had nothing but nice things to say, and he was just like walking in, like I know his town that he lives in. He's just like walking around town. He's like, yeah, I went to like the cafe and like connected to their Wi-Fi and was able to play. He's like, yeah, there's no way to like input a password basically, so like you can only do it on like free Wi-Fi. And I'm just like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. Man, I tried logging into my PlayStation Vita the other day because I finally like bought a new charger, and I had to like I tried logging into the store, and it like prompted me to like go on like my mobile device. It gave me like a QR code to scan. to go to PlayStation and set up like a temporary password. And I think they're doing that for a whole bunch of like legacy consoles now. And so I wonder if that is part of like the PlayStation Portable as like a workaround for like logging into like these external networks for PS Portable. But I have no idea.
Maybe.
Coach, you're our biggest Xbox evangelist. You've been kind of quiet. What's your interpretation of the state of affairs for Xbox?
Well, remember in the last 2 years, they've been buying up all of these smaller developers, and what I haven't really seen much as far as releasing. It's just quiet on their end. They're banking on the subscription service and being able to play their older games from the 360 and Xbox One era. And it just, I don't know. Most of my play, like 99% of my play, is either PS5 or the Switch. I don't have a love for Halo anymore because it's not the same developers. They're gone, right? It'll be interesting to see what happens when Gears of War comes out. What are they going to do with that franchise? You know, what are they going to do next?
I will say you're right, Coach. I mean, clearly they're banking on the subscriptions. Seth, you mentioned that earlier. I mean, it doesn't really seem like they're focused on selling the consoles, and they haven't been for years at this point. But I will say this, like from an exclusive standpoint, from a game standpoint, I haven't played the game, so I can't really talk about the quality, but I'll just say this. If you had told me in January that Starfield was not on the Game Awards Game of the Year nominees list, I would have been shocked because like that was their thing. That was like the game that they had this year, and it.
I think that game got robbed. To be honest, like I don't know how Super Mario Wonder got on. To be honest, like it's a delightful platformer, but Game of the Year, I don't think so. And honestly, everyone got pretty fucking quiet about Tears of the Kingdom pretty fast too.
Yeah,
like there's so many videos of people putting together just like automatic death mecha Rube Goldberg machines, and that's great. But like, I don't know anything about the story, whereas I heard so much shit about Breath of the Wild story, and I don't know anything that happened. I don't even know if Ganon's a villain. I assume he is in Tears of the Kingdom, but like, I don't know. The way everyone was talking about, like, no, you can actually just like go see Ganon right away if your balls are big enough in Breath of the
if your name's
Wild
Seth.
or whatever. If your name's Seth, if your name's Coach Seth, and you're the child of Coach and Seth, and you're the bravest boy who ever lived, yeah, you can go fight Ganon immediately. But I don't know what the fuck happens in Tears of the Kingdom. And like, has anyone else played Super Mario Wonder? Am I alone?
I think.
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah, I guess 3 of us have.
I think it's like a B+ game, right?
It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't
game of the year.
Love it.
Game of the year. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But the thing is with that whole Game of the Year thing, it's like, I don't know. I don't get into it anymore like I used to. But it's just like
just
no
Keely
one talks about
an entertaining show to save his life. Come on.
I think the thing is
the
though,
Xbox
like
days, those were fun.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Live performances and Doritos and what was the drink? Mountain Dew, you know?
To me though, I mean, the reason I bring it up, not just for the Game Awards, but I don't really hear anybody talking about Starfield at all. And that was like one of the most hyped games of all time, supposedly, according to Microsoft.
Listen, and this drives me nuts, dude, because Bethesda has a formula, and they made a game that is completely antithetical to their formula. They use procedural generation to generate terrain, and then they go back and meticulously add in lore and little pieces of things all over to create stories in that terrain, right? You can't just cut out that second part and like expand that over all these planets. It doesn't work like that. The reason people love Elder Scrolls and Fallout is like the little stuff, dude. Like me and George were talking about like all these like bits of lore that like they're not part of the main like Skyrim and Elder Scrolls experience. You have to look for this stuff. That is the magic of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout formula. And they didn't do it with Starfield. They didn't. I mean, it's like people. The number one thing people were complaining about with Starfield was how empty everything was. And it's like that is not, dude. You can't take 15 steps in one of these other games and not find something cool.
That's
exaggerating. Yeah, but yes.
that's fundamentally not true. Like Skyrim feels like a fucking Fallout game. Like it feels like the end of the world in Skyrim. And then in Starfield, I actually get it. I'm like, yeah, man, it's a fucking big universe. Of course, there's not going to be anything like there's not going to be everything everywhere. So I actually think it makes perfect sense for Starfield, but doesn't make sense for Skyrim.
I mean, it makes perfect sense for Starfield, but that doesn't make it a fun game.
I love you so much. I didn't mean to disagree with you on mic.
You disagree with me again. When you come to Pennsylvania, I'm gonna find you. All right.
Oh yeah. Well, don't look for me in Valley Forge because that place fucking sucks, and I'm not gonna.
No gift shop. No gift shop.
No gift
If I-
shop.
if I-
It's not canon.
If I have to pee, you can find me in Valley Forge because the only thing worth there is my piss on its face.
I'll be waiting at the gates of Knobles. Isn't there like
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Obi-Wan Kenobi? Isn't there? I thought
Season
okay.
2.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There like is something cool at Valley Forge though. Isn't like Washington's house at Valley Forge? You can go see.
I don't know.
Isn't that in? Isn't
yeah.
that in National Treasure 2? They go to Valley Forge and they go to George Washington's house for a party, and there's like his secret underground zone.
Jefferson's house, and that was Montesino.
Never mind. Don't call her. Just tell her never mind. That's a really cool place to go, though. I was there.
Holy crap. Yikes.
I can't believe I remember so much about National Treasure 2.
Yeah, that's a straight up hard fact.
What does PlayStation have for next year? Do we know?
Nothing, dude. They have not announced hardly anything.
Okay, in theory, Ghost of Tsushima 2.
I don't even know if
according to who?
According to who? According to 5-year development cycle.
George is like,
that's true.
According to the person that told me never to tell that secret.
I mean, hypothetically. Well, hold on.
I don't do video game work.
Let's reverse because we are forgetting the Final Fantasy VII remake part 2,
actually,
which is a thing for next year.
Wait, what day are we? I feel like we need to wrap up soon because we've been going on a little too long.
It's been so fun.
It has been so fun, but we recorded November 28th. In theory, okay, next Wednesday I probably can't record because I got
what the hell.
Well, Wednesdays are just tough for me because I host pub trivia at a bar now, and next Wednesday I have to host pub trivia at a bar, and I have to host
awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it, and I also have to host pub trivia for my company as like a happy hour event. So I'm doing double trivia that day, so I'm going to be like booked from like 3 to 9. Basically, it sucks. I'm really looking forward to it, but December 7th, right? That's the Game Awards.
Yes.
December 7th. All right, so that is a Thursday. Seth, Coach, what are you guys doing on Thursday?
Yeah, look.
If you guys want to do like a live stream reaction to that, I would love to. I know we talked about doing like
That's
a PlayStation
4 hours, bro.
A PlayStation 3.
That's 4 freaking hours, dude.
Oh wait, December 7th. Oh,
4
that's
hours
a
of
Thursday.
snooze fest.
Oh, it's a Thursday. Oh, it's a football night. I don't know if I'm gonna watch the Game Awards. I gotta be honest. I might care about Thursday
I'm at the
football.
point last 2 years I
can't.
watched the.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do it anymore. I gotta be honest.
Right.
I've watched it the last few years, and I'm like, I don't know.
I would also like to do one of those like we talked about doing like a PlayStation 3 retrospective for me for Christmas. I still really want to do that. I would love if we assigned each of us a console and we did like an audit on like major properties and like the last time something that series was released and like the last time something was like talked about for a series. So like if someone wants to take PlayStation, someone wants to take Xbox, someone wants to take Nintendo, and then someone doesn't have to do it.
Someone could take Sega.
So someone could just take the week off. Yeah, let us know what's up with Apple Arcade. Would you guys be interested in doing that? Do you think that's like a fun exercise? Just because we could like figure out like, okay, last Hellblade game was 6 years ago. Where the fuck is Hellblade 2?
That's a good question.
I think that's great.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, can I answer Coach's question that I prepared really quick?
Coach, what's your question? Ask it.
Actually, not really quick at all.
So my question that I didn't think that I asked to the chat, our group chat, is for newbies into RPGs, right? And specifically for action RPGs, because Xenoblade Chronicles is an action RPG. What are games that you can play that will get you ready for that? Because there's just so much stuff going on at the screen. can be just very triple overwhelming for
Do you want
some
Okay.
people.
do you want
So
action RPG
now
or
I understand where you're coming from a
or
little bit.
JRPG?
Right.
Because the first
Okay.
time he asked this question, it was JRPG.
Yes. Well, Xenoblade is a JRPG. Now I
Yeah.
understand your issue with Xenoblade a little more. So, Coach, here's what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
There is no game that can prepare you for Xenoblade. It is an absolutely unique experience that is almost equivalent to an MMO RPG because it is a game that utilizes old school rules for RPGs like tank, healer, DPS, and it sticks with them. If you don't have a correct party setup, you're going to be absolutely decimated. That being said, there is a couple games that I can give you that will prepare you in an RPG sense for Xenoblade, but Xenoblade is naturally like a very extremely complicated RPG. What I was wondering was why Xenoblade? Why is Xenoblade your end goal that's on your radar for
No,
like
it's not
fulfilling
really my
experience?
end goal. It's just that there's 4 games. I count the second one, right? They sold it as another cartridge, but there's 4 games on the Switch. 3 was on sale for Black Friday, so for like $20 off, right? So it was just like thinking about like I do want to try to attempt this series, but I don't want to attempt it and be just like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I would go as far as to say like the Xenoblade games are so complicated that they're not even fun for the first 10 hours.
They're not.
Because like the there's this really incredibly deep combat system, right? That does not they feed you breadcrumbs because it's so complicated and you can't utilize it to its full effect until you're like significantly pretty far in.
Okay.
And if you don't really so here's what I have for like starter RPGs, right? And I put a lot of thought into this list. Okay. So if you're looking for old school Final Fantasy starter or old school RPG starters, I put 3 of them to get you started in like the way like a lot of people got started. The first one I have is Final Fantasy IV.
Okay.
And you could substitute this with Final Fantasy VI as well. People like either of them more than the other.
Which is 2 and 3 in America. Right?
Not since the 90s, but yes.
Okay.
On the SNES, they were 2 and 3.
Just
but
remember
yes.
how old Coach is.
Yeah. But if you're looking at them in today's standard, you're going to find them as Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy VI.
Okay.
You'll never see them listed as 2 and 3 again. After that, if you're looking for if you enjoy that, I say go Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is, I think, a kind of an overrated game, which is probably surprising to hear me say. But it is a really solid, stable RPG. I just don't think it's as groundbreaking as people make it seem. It's really good though. Like definitely a must play for like RPG fans. If you're looking for something more modern than that, the father of all modern RPGs, obviously, Final Fantasy VII. Almost
Awesome.
everything comes from that. Super Mario RPG is a good pick, especially if you're into like the Mario. It's a little odd in my opinion, but like it's a pretty solid RPG pick. The other one that I thought that I picked specifically for you because I know how much you love the system is Golden Sun, the GBA game.
Okay.
Golden Sun has everything for a classic JRPG experience. It was on the Game Boy and it was on the Game Boy Advance.
I
And
think
it's
the first one.
So you already got it. It's fantastic. Okay, so now we're moving on. Dragon Quest 11 is a game that came out I think 4 years ago, and all the Dragon Quest games are bare bones, grassroots JRPGs. Okay, there's no like real fancy mechanics to them. There's no like, they're straight up. What's up, George?
Dragon Quest 11S Heroes of an Elusive Age or whatever, that game is currently on sale right now on PlayStation Network and I think maybe the eShop.
It's very good. The benefit that you have, the reason I say Dragon Quest 11 and not the other ones are extremely hard. They're extremely hard and you have to grind a lot. Dragon Quest 11 itself is a more modern take on the Dragon Quest formula where it's easier, it's got a good story, and it reminds me more of like a Legend of Zelda type art style. No. Actually, you know what? Scratch that whole last statement. That's not true at all. I think
It's also 150 hours long.
Yes, you don't have to complete the whole thing.
That's perfect, Coach. That's just like your dick. Your dick is also 150 hours long.
Okay. Now here is the final recommendation I have for you for this. If you really want to do this, Final Fantasy 12 is the closest.
I had a feeling.
The Final Fantasy 12 is the closest thing I could find in my brain to a Xenoblade Chronicles system. And it's not even close, but it's the closest thing where like the characters move around the map a little bit, right? And you can select your abilities. It's not turn-based. It's active time battle based, speed based. So that's what I got for you. Final Fantasy 12 also great game. Great game, not too complicated. Maybe a little more complicated than the other ones.
I mean, I personally don't love a lot of JRPGs just because my first experience at JRPGs was Pokemon, and I feel like that is a series that just like makes fundamental sense to me. Yeah. Oh, you have an electric guy, you're going up against a water guy, you've got an advantage. Oh, they've got a fire guy, you've got a leaf guy, they've got like I never know when to buff and when to debuff and shit in like a normal JRPG because like I am just so broken from Pokemon being like, well, why wouldn't I just attack every turn just to like whittle them down, and then I can just go to a Poke Center and then bring my boys back. That said, few games have enamored me completely as Final Fantasy 16.
So good, dude. So
not
good.
Not a JRPG.
No.
But I feel like that game has done more to get me interested in JRPGs than any other game. And I say that as someone who has like beaten all of Final Fantasy V. It's the only Final Fantasy game I've ever completed.
Like heresy. You've never played like 7, 8, 9?
I played a little bit of 8. I think I talked about that on the podcast. I really like the story of 8.
I think everyone should play Final Fantasy 7. At least try it as so you can see like why that game was so big from a historical perspective. It's like, you know, it's watching an old movie or something. Like it does it play well? Does it look good? No, but like that is the first major modern 3D RPG, and that's what set the mold for everything else.
My problem with that comparison is like, oh yeah, you should watch Casablanca. It's like a classic movie. Like, yeah, it's really boring. I'm like, yeah, but like the people still fucking look like people. I don't know what Cloud looks like in Final Fantasy VII, but it's not a person.
Oh, thankfully, there's a remake, so you can see what he's supposed to look like.
Yeah, but isn't that like not a JRPG? Isn't it more like an action game?
No, it's ATB based, or like Final Fantasy 12 would be.
Okay.
But I can't recommend that because it's fundamentally
different.
Not a remake. It is a sequel to the original game. Yeah, if someone didn't play Final Fantasy 7 and they play the remake, they'd be like, "What is going on here? None of this makes any sense."
Sure.
So it's vital to play original Final Fantasy 7 before playing the remake.
Yes.
Yeah, because dude, like, it's not a remake. That is a straight up lie. It's not a remake at all. It's a sequel to the original, supposedly. Or we're not really sure if it's this is a massive spoiler. I can't really talk.
When you think about the subtitle of the game, it kind of makes sense when you like consider where the plot goes. If that makes sense,
I guess.
But it is kind of like false advertising. So
yeah.
Like, are you as excited for the next when is it released in February?
Rebirth. Yeah, I'm excited.
Rebirth. You are?
Yeah,
I remember when they announced the remake at what was it, 2014 when they announced it?
I think so.
No, it was 2015 or 2016 because I was dating my girlfriend at the time.
You were like
I was in Boston.
so hyped.
Oh yeah, dude.
I've never seen you more hyped.
Oh yeah. I absolutely lost my mind when Final Fantasy 7 remake got released.
Well, that was That was the same E3 as Shenmue 3, right?
Yes.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Crowdfunded.
Yeah.
Shenmue 3. Crowdfunded. And everyone
At
was
least
like,
it
"Wait,
actually
what?"
came out, unlike Knights
Yeah.
of the Old Republic. What can
I
you
know,
do?
dude.
Yikes,
Oh my
dude.
god. How do you
Yikes.
mess that up, man?
I don't know.
You give it to Aspire. That's how it does that.
A team that's unqualified. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
port. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up there because we've been going a while. So, if you have made it this far, you probably already know all this, but we can be found on basically any podcast service. Of course, if you're listening to us on a podcast service, you can also find us on YouTube, where you can watch our video, see our faces, see Seth's beautiful mustache, and Coach's Cowboys hat, George, your Carhartt beanie.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Also,
Mhm.
Coach's 150-hour-long dick. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So you can find the YouTube edition of the show at bit.ly/frameskip live. So bit.ly/frameskip live. And yeah, of course, you can follow us on social media. We are at Frameskip Pod on pretty much everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole ordeal. We are individually on Twitter. I am at Austin J. Eller. Seth is at Seth the 90s Kid. And then don't follow.
me.
Don't follow. And then George
Follow.
is at Shortbox Summary. So
I plan to release at least one episode before the end of the year. I can't remember the last time I did a Shortbox Summary episode. I've been drowning in work. So what can you do?
well, make it happen. Make it happen, George. Tell work. Look, guys, I got to record this comic book podcast. I'm sorry. I got to make it happen. The people are demanding it.
True.
So
If I don't explain what happens in this 25-year-old comic book, no one else will.
God forbid they actually read that comic book.
No, it's too hard. There aren't enough pictures. There's too many words. I need to step in and help them out.
Oh Lord. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week with whatever the hell we'll be talking about. So in the meantime, adios.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.
Mooch.